Is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey, good morning, folks. This is Shane with Progression Technologies. Just getting ready to start up here. Today we're going to be talking about importing solid bodies and some of the direct editing. We're not going to dive too deep into repair because there's just a lot going on when you get into the repair of these things. But I do want to dive into things here. The Wi-Fi here on the beach in St. Pete isn't always that great, so if you do have any issues or can't hear me, feel free to raise your hand and let me know or type a question in, and we'll get things going. And cancel. All right, so we're going to work primarily in 2015 today, but most of the product and features we're going to discuss today existed in 13 and 14 also. So for those of you who are just a couple versions back, you'll be able to find these options also. Let me go ahead and get us started up here again. All right, so we're going to talk about just importing files and some of the tools that are available to you. We'll look at some of the options in Professional and Premium that are available also, and dive through that. So most of you should see the webinar control panel somewhere on your screen. You can collapse that to get it out of the way. But on that tool is the raise your hand button and ask questions right here. So if you do have any questions or at any time, just type them in there, and then we'll address those towards the end of the webinar. For those of you who are on now, if you could find that raise your hand button and go ahead and hit that for me, just so that I know somebody out there can hear me, I'd appreciate it. And perfect. Thank you for letting me know. All right, then let's go ahead and dive into this and get things started. So what we're going to talk about is importing solids. We're going to look at STEP, IGES, and Parasolids primarily because those are pretty universal. We will take a look at STL files. Those do show up a lot now. And then we're also going to look at repair and direct editing, and when you may not even want to mess with that, and reasons why you might just skip that. So let's go ahead and dump out of the slideshow and get right into SolidWorks. So let's take a look at this. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and come up here into add-ins, and just to make sure there's no sleight of hand, no trickery right now, I'm going to go ahead and turn everything off. And so now we'll be starting up in, we're going to close this out, we're going to restart, and now we're opening 2015 as just SolidWorks Standard. And so if we come in here and now we go to Open, we've got our various file types here. And one thing I do want to let folks know about, if we click, we can see the step file here. If we click step file, if you look down here, there's no option available. And a lot of times folks will call us and say, hey, I can't see the options for importing. Go ahead and just come down here to file type, switch to step or any of the file types there, and now you get your options available to you. So we'll go ahead and click that. SolidWorks loves to work with solid bodies. So anytime you can go ahead and form a solid, that's really going to help out. So by default, we want to go ahead and form solids. BREP mapping, we want that checked. That's going to make us the best solid we can get. Merge entities. And then a lot of this other stuff here is kind of optional. Import multiple bodies as parts. If you're getting an assembly and you know you may want to work on it later, then by all means go ahead and do that. Bring them in as separate parts so that you can work on them later. Perform full entity check and repairs. If you don't know the part you're getting, that file, what it is, how big it is, uncheck this one. If somebody sent you an assembly and it has a whole bunch of little fasteners and washers, nuts, bolts, and pieces in there hidden, this one could cause things to take a while to sort out and clean up. Same with running the import diagnostics automatically. If you're bringing this part in and its only purpose is a placeholder in your assembly and you're not going to modify it, you're not going to work with it, you just need a solid body to mate into an assembly, you may not need import diagnostics at all. So these four down here are something that you may want to just leave unchecked. So we're just going to use the standards here so that we can try to get a solid, and we'll click OK to accept those. We're going to start with a nice simple step file here first, and we'll go ahead and open it. So here it is, and see, first thing it's going to do is prompt us to run those import diagnostics. This part's pretty dead simple, so I don't think we'll have any issues, but we'll go ahead and click yes, and you can see here the model's resolve fine. There's no gaps, there's no faulty faces, everything's happy. Maybe a little strangeness going on in here, but I did just snag this off of GrabCAD, and we know we can't always trust everybody on GrabCAD. So so it gives us a nice little part we can use. And if all we need is a part that we can insert into an assembly, then pretty much we can stop right here. We can go ahead and save as. We'll go ahead and just save it as a solid part and click OK. Now let's say we wanted to go ahead and maybe work with this a little bit and move things around. Well, then we can get into direct editing, and we're going to look at direct editing on another part that has a little more adventure to it than this one. But what we can do with this part is, if you've got SolidWorks Premium or Professional, you can come up here and turn on FeatureWorks. And FeatureWorks comes to us from the folks that also happen to make CamWorks, and it'll help look at that solid body and generate some usable features. So we're going to select just the first one. We'll right click on it, come down here to FeatureWorks and say Recognize Features. Here you can see we've got what it's going to look for, and we're just going to leave the defaults there, and we're going to let it do all the work for us and just see how it does things. So we'll go ahead and click Next. And right now it's chewing through things, and we can see here it came up with a base extrude, then a cut, then a boss extrude. And is this going to be exactly the way you would have constructed this model? No, probably not. Let's hope not. But it does do a good job of generating features that then will be something you can edit. So all in all, we kind of like it, so we're going to go ahead and Click OK. And now it's actually going to sit here and generate all of those features for us. So now you can see we've got features that we can actually use and edit. Again, does do some strange things to us, but these are everything that you need. You can go ahead and edit. You actually have a history now that you can work with. You can roll back and see what that part looked like beforehand. You know, maybe we want to go ahead and now we want to go ahead and edit this sketch. You know, we've got workable features that we can lock down and use. So FeatureWorks is a great tool. We had a nice basic part here to work with. So it generated a nice feature list for us. Not always the case. Sometimes you really do want to evaluate what it's generating for you. You may not necessarily agree with how, for instance, it did this revolve here in 2 steps. You know, we know we could have done that in 1 step. But again, you've got a history now. You can go ahead and clean things up and fix those features you didn't necessarily like. So pretty good tool. And now we actually can go ahead and file, save this as, and we can save it as the you know, main body. And now we've got a part that we can play with there. So kind of an interesting, quick, simple one. Let's go ahead and close out of that. Let's close out of this one. Let's move to something a little more fun. Let's go ahead and open. And let's see, let's jump down to, we want to look at sample 3. So here we've got a part, and if we look at it, we've actually got some choices here. We've got an IGES file, we've got a step file, we've got an STL, and we've got a Parasolid here that we can play with. So now we've got a number of files we can work with and import. So for fun, let's go ahead and let's just work with, let's start with the STL because those are showing up a lot. One of the things that we get a lot of times with STL files is we go ahead and open that file, and we'll select no for now, and we get this STL graphics 1, and nothing's selectable. There's nothing we can do with it. It is truly a dumb solid. It's not even sure why it's there. So not real helpful, not a lot of value to us. So what we'll do is we're going to go ahead and close this. We don't want to save it. Let's go ahead and open again. We'll go ahead and go back to STL file, and it is there. Yep. We're going to go ahead and click Options, and what we're going to do now is go ahead and tell it to insert as a solid body. And we'll see what that gives us. We're going to go ahead and import that now. So we'll click OK. We're going to go ahead and open it. Now, we'll let this chew through it. There isn't some issues here in that an STL file by its nature is really a lot of surfaces. And so you can see here as we look at it, we have a lot of surfaces. And SOLIDWORKS does have some limitations when bringing those surfaces in. And so if you have a part that's got a lot of complexity or is fairly large, you may want to download some of the free softwares available online that can open that STL and save it out as a different file type or simplify it somewhat. Another adventure you have with an STL is you have to know what units it was originally created in. If we come up here and we select Evaluate and Measure, and we measure our width here, we've got 0.2362 inches. So we'll click OK. Now, don't say. We'll go ahead and open this part again. For a lot of you, like me, being in the US, I'm not going to work in millimeters. I want to switch over to inches. That's the units I want to import this part with. So I'll click OK and import that with inches. So it's going to go through its thing again. And maybe it's going to give us a part. This is where I prove to you, oh good, that I'm not running a special version of SolidWorks. Mine crashes too. We're going to go ahead and measure that line again. And now all of a sudden we're 5.9987 inches. So the units that part, that STL file, was originally created in are very important. We need to know what those were, so that we create a part that matches those. You have to have your import units the same. So what we'll do is let's go ahead and cancel out of this now. Let's go ahead and bring it in correctly. And we're going to look at some of the options here that we also have available. Let's switch back to millimeters. Click OK. All right. So if we once we get this back up, so running almost anything on this particular body would be very difficult. When you've got this many surfaces, trying to do any kind of direct editing, moving surfaces, changing things, is going to be extremely difficult, because you're going to have to find every surface and select it if you want to move just one. So a lot of work. So at this point, your best bet is to go ahead and, rather than save this directly to a SolidWorks part and have all of those surfaces in there that you're not going to be able to work with, is go ahead and save it out as, say, and it really doesn't matter, but a step or an IGES file. And we'll go ahead and we'll just use that one. We'll throw a 2 on here and save. So we'll let it save as a new file and take a look at what we get when we open that step file. Because while this is great, and you could save it as a part file and work with it all day long as a SolidWorks part file, if you didn't plan on modifying it at all, if you did need to change it, make any changes to it, do some direct editing to the solid, you really don't have that option. And you can see right now it's how long it's taking to create that step file, and really that's a result of merging and cleaning up all of those surfaces that are in this file. So we're going to go ahead and close out of this. Don't save. And now let's go ahead and open that step file that we just made from STL2. Let's go ahead and open that up. And again, now we're just going to come in here. But you can see now, much cleaner looking file, easier to work with. We can click here, one surface, really nice and easy to work with. So we like that. That's a file that we can throw into an assembly and have a good presentation with. So didn't quite clean it up the way we'd like, but much better, much better. So so again, with STLs, generally you're going to want a step in the middle. You're going to want to move it to a step or IGES file or a Parasolid, and then be able to save it as a SolidWorks part at this point and clean things up. So just a little bit on STLs there, and some settings that you really got to look for when working with those. So we're going to close out of that one. Let's go ahead and open up a parasolid. Let's take a look at that. So we've got a parasolid here. Let's go ahead and open that up. And again, well, we can go ahead and run it. I don't think we're going to find anything. Everything's pretty happy, so we're good. But parasolid's really nice file. Generally result in the smallest file type you're going to get when you're working with some of these solid bodies, these other file types. So so really nice file type to exchange with. So what we're going to do, we'll go ahead and use this one as our test bed. And I want to show you something that a lot of people haven't really made too much use of, and that's some of this direct editing tools we have. For those of you who don't know, you can see I pretty much have every tab turned on, which isn't necessarily the best thing. I've got a couple left off. But if you right-click on any tab, you can turn these back on and off, get rid of some of them. You know, I'm not sure why I had that one on, but so I turned direct editing on so that I have it available to me while I'm working here. Really, really great tool. It organizes stuff here for you, and now I've got this dumb solid, and maybe I do want to start modifying it. So a couple things before we dive into that. If we come over here to our imported body, you know, we selected no, we're not worried, we're not going to do import diagnostics on it. Well, now we said, you know what, we do want to modify it. Let's run the import diagnostics. So we come over, we right click, and we select import diagnostics, and of course everything's still fine. But where we have an issue is, let's say we go ahead and decide we do want to make some modifications to our body, and so we go ahead and start getting happy doing that, and we'll go ahead and just extrude that up a little bit, and we're all good. So we've got our boss extrude there, and it's happy, and we're good. But we notice that maybe there might be something wrong. Well, now if we come back here, you can see we don't have that import diagnostics anymore. The other thing we don't have is it's also grayed out here. So there's no way to get back to it. As soon as you modify your imported solid, you can't import the diagnostics anymore. You can't run import diagnostics. Even if we roll it back, nothing. We can delete it out, or we can suppress it, and we still don't get it. So something that you want to be aware of, as soon as you make any changes to that solid, you lose the import diagnostics option because now it's a new body. All right, so just something to be aware of. Hopefully by the time you get to editing, it's already done. All right, so let's dive into some direct editing, and probably the biggest one that folks have is needing to shift some faces around usually. You know, here we've got our spindle, and maybe this hub really is a little too long. So we can come in here and select maybe these three faces here, and we want to move those. Well, we're going to move them back a little bit. So again, I want to make sure I know exactly what direction it's going to move. So I'm going to go ahead and select the edge of one of these teeth so that I know it's going to move the direction I want. And let's go ahead and we're going to move it back a ½ inch. We're going to click OK. And you can see it even adjusted the outer surface for me. It took care of everything, trimmed it all off, and kept it nice. So real powerful tool there for taking some generic model and making it work for you. Now, there is a little bit of a limitation in that SolidWorks does try to maintain the model's integrity a little bit. And you can just barely make out there's a bit of a draft on this part. And so with this face, if we try to move it, it actually is going to shrink that face for us, which may not be necessarily ideal. So there are times where you may still need to maybe go ahead and delete a face and start it over just to be able to edit things properly. Another one where you have issues with from time to time are these any chamfers or any fillets you've got sometimes can lose their integrity when you move them. So one of the things you can do here, if I need to maybe make this a larger diameter, one of the things that's going to simplify things is first come in here and see if we can't measure that. And of course it doesn't want to give us anything there, but we're going to go ahead and get rid of that face for now. We don't want to mess with it when we move, so we're going to go ahead and delete that face. And what we're going to have it do is we're going to let it delete and patch. And we can go ahead and show preview. You can see what it's going to do is give us a new edge there. So let's go ahead and click OK. And now it's just a nice square edge. And we're going to go ahead and take that for now. And then we can come in and make our changes to these